All right, now we're live again. So we're back with Senate Health and Welfare. It is still January 21st. And we're looking at S-215. The last time we looked at it, it's a bill relating to expansion of the use of three squares in restaurants for folks. So the last time we looked at it, we heard about some difficulties related to expanding the program in terms of restaurants being contacted and so on and so forth. So I asked to have some more testimony, and Nor, you're here. Do you folks have testimony organized? Because we don't have, you do? I do. Actually, I have it right here. So this is good. You want to go first? You want to let other,
I'll go.
you're going first? Okay,
I'm gonna come at the end if that's
That's fine.
okay, and I will just sort of clean up whatever
clean up.
needs to be,
All right.
you
The
know.
mess that we may have made.
No,
So you know what, we don't
Anything you
know all
didn't
of you, so we're
cover.
going to introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
We'll start over here with Senator Wiggins.
Senator Williams, Terry Williams from Rutland County.
Jenny Lyons from Chittenden Southeast.
Dave Weeks, Rutland County.
Sorry, I just ate a sandwich. I'm always eating and drinking in here, sorry. Senator LaRock Buell from Chittenden Central.
And last but not least,
Senator Ruth Hardy from the Addison District.
so we have some folks in to testify on S-215 and they've got themselves organized, so we will just let you go ahead.
So I'm Joe Wetson from Bear City.
Oh, I know who you are, Jim.
Yes, I think that you were the chairwoman last.
Yeah.
So let me give you a little description on how I came here. September 2nd, 21, I had a major medical trauma situation. Thought I was having appendicitis, but I ended up having appendicitis, pneumonia, and my breathing was all at 30 at the same time. So I went to Dartmouth and I spent 5 days in a coma and 15 days in the hospital. So after I get done that, I came home, got into physical therapy at Gifford Hospital. And I was down there doing the 18 weeks. And then we were just one day what I call my two angels, they're talking about life in general. Just, I go, some days I just don't eat because I make sure my pets have food, right? They go, whoa, stop. So they sent me up to their social worker. And then they went to get a bag of food. They told me about Veggie Van Go. So okay, I'm gonna do this stuff. And then I went to Veggie Van Go and they told me it happened to be that Friday that I was there. And they said, go there and they'll help. So I come up and that's where I met Karen from the food bank. And I told her about my story. And from there, right, I've been an advocate, I've done a newsletter with the food bank. I've done an interview with the legislatures. I did one with Berlin Free Press, Vermont Public Radio. In contrast to all this stuff here. And now that I'm going back to the $23 a month, I'm gonna get that pandemic money, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I went to $294. Now I'm back to $223. So now what I did, I got on my refrigerator at home, I have a pad of paper. It says Capstone, Veggie Van Go, grocery store. So I go to Capstone and get like canned goods and eggs and whatever they have that I think I need. And then I take whatever's from Veggie Van Go and I use that and I mark off and I use, and then the grocery store, you go buy a gallon of milk today, that's $23. And you get you 2 gallons of milk, maybe 2 loaves of bread, if you're lucky. So, I've learned how to, I was telling these guys here, everybody should have the soup Bible. Because that is the best thing I've found. I make a lot of soups, and I'm cooking at home at more now, but, I can't afford to go to the restaurant, I can't. But I want to be a voice for the people on here. And we're talking about this bill here. This is a win-win for everybody. It's a win-win for the state, win-win for the state and the restaurants, and a win-win for the people that are on EBT in restaurants. Because they'll give people like myself on EBT confidence to go to the restaurants and use their card like a regular credit card. You know, to be able to be out in public, just not be, oh, we can't go there because they look at us, they discriminate against us. No, there's no discrimination. And people, my feeling about people judging, don't judge me unless you walk in my shoe. It's not fair to me. I don't judge you, don't judge me. Everybody should be working together to solve problems instead of pushing everybody in place. You know, and then, you know, now, you know, it's just. I encourage this bill to get passed. We really need to pass this bill.
Thank you. And, absolutely amazed at what you have been through. Yeah,
And I've also done really well. I've been. I'm down, I was at this, I went in the hospital, I weighed 381 pounds. I'm now at 328. So it's
so
I'm
good.
finding myself now, but I was, yeah, I used to go to the grocery store, I can. Okay. Now I go to the grocery store, how much solely, how much, you know, now it's an hour for a single guy to go grocery shopping. My brother said, you're nuts, but you know, I'm watching when I eat, what. You know, I've got 4 kids and 6 grandkids that need me to stay here.
You want to be around for them.
Well, I don't know if they want me around, but I'm gonna be around for.
You want to be around for them.
I wanna be around for them, yeah. Anybody have any questions?
No, thank you. Senator Hardy has a question, then Senator Weeks. No, Senator Hardy.
Thank you very much for your testimony. So you qualify for the EBT program
Yes, yeah,
because of your disability,
yeah,
basically?
I make the qualified amount of money, yeah.
So if the restaurant program were to be in effect, you would be one of the people who would benefit from
Oh,
it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And also the moderate needs, if we were able to move up to
Yeah,
that,
if you-
and get
yeah.
a lot more than 23 bucks
Yeah,
a
yeah,
month.
it would help a lot, yes, yeah.
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 Is the Veggie Van Go program that you're using, is that through, is it
The food
paid,
bank?
but is it paid for through Medicaid or is it,
No.
there is a program like
I just go,
that?
they just told me to go, and that's how I met Carrie and all those guys, and
Has your doctor prescribed, Veggie Van Go or some vegetable?
no, actually, people down at my physical therapies.
Yeah, you might ask, because I think there's a program that's paid for by Medicaid that you could get that is also like Veggie Van
Yeah,
Go.
yeah. Well, now I'm. What, I used to say this to my dad, you're old at 60, but now I'm there. You're like, boy, that was mean to him. But you know, now I qualify, you know, I've been on Social Security disability for 2 years. And after 2 years, you gotta go on Medicare. But now I qualify for Medicare, like, boy, this thing is really getting real.
Yes,
Yeah.
Here, let me slap myself across the face and see how I'm doing. But no, anything, I always are looking for ways to better. You know, better myself.
Yeah.
'Cause I can never go back, I drove a truck for 35 years. And when you're a truck driver, you don't eat healthy, you don't,
Yeah,
you know, you get up, with my job, I leave my house in Barry at 3:30, get to West Lebanon at 4:30. Load my van by 5:30, I'm on the road for 10 hours, come back. And deliver, you know, then drive an hour home, so.
Mm.
You know, 10 hours of driving, no pay is,
yeah,
and then in the wintertime, and I drove up like to Colebrook, New Hampshire, up to. Burlington, New Hampshire, Freiburg, Maine, that area. Then then I got sick and said, you know what, I'm just gonna retire.
yeah.
I mean, I gave 40 years of my life to trucking
yeah, you
industry.
can't keep doing it. That part of Maine is not exactly fun.
No, it's not, but otherwise, you know, I'm here to, that's the last thing I think I said. I'm here to be the voice for the people that won't speak up.
Yeah.
And we need to, everybody needs to work together to solve.
Right.
It's not just a government problem. It's people that need to speak up and say, this is what we need. Because the government say, okay, we can give them this program. But when you read the bill, well, they don't have this, and they don't have that. Everybody speaks up. We'll get through it. We'll do all right.
Senator Weeks had a question.
Yeah, I do have a question. So I appreciate your testimony. Yeah, certainly, recognize that, you're very cost conscious,
Yeah.
when you're out there buying your food.
Yeah.
And my question is, if the opportunity to then use the restaurant is given to you and others,
Yeah.
are you worried that your buying power, your ability to, because the money is essentially fixed.
Yeah.
Or, so if you
Well-
bought it in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And you bought the menu that
Yeah.
the food that you conceive for yourself, as opposed to buying in the restaurant, do you think that you'll lose buying power? Like, do you think you'll?
No,
'cause,
no, you just gotta, phrase this. It would be almost like a treat to go to the restaurant,
Sure,
say, okay, maybe I'll budget this much for a restaurant. Cause I only eat at certain restaurants, so. But, you deliver to a restaurant and you go in the back door. People always ask me, do you deliver, eat at the restaurant you deliver to? No. And it's nothing against the restaurant, it's just, you see food all day long, you don't. But to do what you're asking, that would have to be something you would have to sit down at the beginning of the month when you get your money. Do your budget. And then, okay, maybe a Saturday night I can go to the restaurant. For a treat.
okay, thank you. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. George, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for your phone service. I apologize. I have a written statement, so I'll read that. but
No, this
maybe
is
that-
typical for us. This is perfectly fine. And in fact, if each of you has something that you can send in to Kiki electronically, then we'll have it as a record on our webpage.
Can do. So just a little background. My name is George Shank. I am the founder and CEO of American Flatbread at LaRoe Farm and Forest in Waitsfield. We've had a flatbread restaurant at this location since 1992. Since 1993, I've donated monthly pizza parties at the UVM Medical Center Children's Hospital for 18 years. I served on the board of the Vermont Food Bank and served on the board of VBSR for 6 years. We have an ongoing program of making free flatbread and garden produce available for the ill, injured, and those in recovery. During COVID, we made special donations of flatbread to local food shelves. For a short period of my life back in the late 1970s, I personally experienced food insecurity. I am grateful I do not now. Hunger is surprisingly common in the United States, and Vermont is no exception. The singular cause of hunger in this country is poverty. The depredations of poverty ripple through people's souls and abrade the fabric of their families. Hunger is often an invisible burden carried in silence out of shame or sense of failure. But poverty is rarely a personal failure, failing to care for oneself or family. More often, it is brought on by circumstances beyond the individual's control: illness, injury, divorce, job loss, age. The poverty of children is no fault of their own, and the elderly are often no longer able to. With established kitchen infrastructure and food expertise, the restaurant industry is well poised to help feed people who have long been excluded and let them experience the uplifting joys of good food in a warm and nurturing setting. The proposed Senate Bill S-215 would do this and strengthen an important sector of our economy that has been battered by the COVID pandemic and substantial economic pressures in the cost of food and labor and real estate. I believe S-215 will make Vermont a better, more equitable, more just society for all.
Thank you.
If I may briefly respond to your question about sort of the dilution of buying power in a restaurant, and I think it is a story that I learned a long time ago. I was teaching people about cooking, people who were challenged around food and money. a special program, UVM had developed the menus, and I and a colleague were the teachers. And there were 6 women in the program, they were all single, all with children. And as I was talking about, preparing, dicing up the onions and carrots and making simple, relatively inexpensive but nutritious food, the 19-year-old mother of 2 said, well, let me tell you about my life. He said, I walk into the kitchen and there's a sink full of dirty pots and pans. I've got the infant on my hip and the toddler is pulling at my pant leg. And my boyfriend's ex-girlfriend is banging and screaming at the front door of the trailer. This is sometimes the complexities of actually feeding one another. And I think that having an opportunity to take some meals out where they're prepared by others and they're cleaned up by others is something that we all need from time to time. And I think that's particularly true for those whose lives are harder than most of us can imagine.
Thank you for that story. Yeah, I'm sure we probably each have stories we can tell.
Yes.
That one
Yeah.
from you is good. I do have a question first on the vote of Senator Hardy, and that is, do you currently, serve folks with EBT? Have you been part of
No.
that at all? And would you participate? If this-
Yes, yeah. One of the other aspects of this that I think is very appealing that I have always thought of as for American Flatbread at Waitsfield is that it was a common ground for a variety of people across sort of the social spectrum. And at Flatbread, we would sometimes have people sitting at one table who had saved up their money to come in for a special meal. And right next to them was another group of people who could afford to eat at any restaurant in the world any night they wished. And I think that commingling for our society is really helpful. And sometimes people break through their normal economic or social boundaries and end up in a chit chat with somebody else and maybe learn something about another part of their society that they so often are excluded from. And I think that this program would help advance that phenomenon in ways that I think are constructive to create a better social fabric for all of us. I do think that there are challenges. And how does it get paid for? And where does the money really end up? And how do we do this well? And I think that in the end, the restaurants are going to have to make some important choices of how to serve a community that maybe has been excluded. And what does that look like and feel like? But it's my view that it actually, instead of being a hardship, it could enrich our work and our lives and make what we do more meaningful. In the end, for me at least, although money is always important, the work is really about feeding one another. And how do we feed one another? I think is one of the essential questions of our society.
Thank you. Senator Hardy, have a question?
You asked the question I was gonna ask.
Well, there you go. It's good that you got the same answer. All right, thank you very much.
So thank you.
Honora, you want to play sweep?
Yes, I would be honored. Hello, I'm Honora Gordon, and I'm the Executive Director of Hunger Free Vermont. And our mission is to end the injustice of hunger for everyone by prioritizing the people who are most affected by hunger in our state to make permanent and systemic change. And so thank you, Chair, and thank you, committee members, for taking up S215. And I submitted some slides, and I'm mindful of the time. So you can look at those slides, and I'm happy to answer any questions about them. But instead of putting them up and trying to get through them in the few minutes that we have, I'd like to just say a few things and then be done. And if you have more questions, do that. Does that work for
Sounds
for
good.
you all? Okay, great. So the first thing is that I'm sure that you all, being in the Senate Health and Welfare Committee as you are painfully aware that the state does not always have the option to make policy choices to improve the way that federal programs operate. Right? There are a lot of ways that federal programs operate that really don't work very well for us in Vermont, and often we're kind of stuck with that. But this is an instance where you could actually make a choice to make this most critical federal nutrition program, SNAP, better for thousands of people in Vermont. And that is really what's very exciting about this bill to me. I mean, just imagine for a moment that food security programs like Three Squares Vermont worked in more flexible ways that were a match for different people's needs, and that truly created an experience of daily and weekly and monthly and yearly food security for everyone who used them. What a relief that would be for so many people and families, and for you as legislators, I imagine, because you're concerned about the well-being of your constituents and your communities. That's why you're here. S215, it puts our feet on that road, I believe. I believe that the changes to our Three Squares Vermont program that are envisioned in S215 would be really very meaningful to the many thousands of folks who are income eligible for Three Squares Vermont, but who aren't enrolled and don't enroll. I think they would be so meaningful that many more people would enroll. And that would create more food security for more people, while also leveraging more federal dollars for our food businesses and farmers in new ways. And it would ease the crisis being experienced by our charitable food system, which I know you've also heard quite a bit about in this session and in the past and previous sessions. You have before you in S215 policy choices that support people who face the greatest challenges staying food secure, while also bringing in a whole new set of permanent partners for food security, our restaurant community, who showed that they are willing and able to step up during the pandemic and the floods. The main point that I want to leave you with is that through S215, you can address many of the issues raised by Joe, that you would be bringing the SNAP restaurant meals program to Vermont. So that is one piece of this bill. The other piece, which I think is critical and addressing some of the challenges that George raised, is the navigator position that this bill creates in the Agency of Human Services that would actually help restaurants get up and running for this program, would be able to train staff in how to really interact with people, right, who come with their EBT card in a way that's dignified and that preserves their privacy. That's really, really critical. And that piece needs to go in the FY25 budget to make sure that that happens. And then the third piece is also really important, creating a transition plan so that you, the legislature, gets the information you need to make policy choices about how to raise the minimum benefits for people and how to tackle these forms of hidden hunger, which I think are all around us all the time, and are really a serious problem in Vermont. So S215 contains these three actions, and by directing the state to take them, you would be making a very real difference in the lives of Joe and many, many other people who share similar circumstances all over our state. Both parts of S215 are really important for different reasons. Getting Vermont up and running with the restaurant meals program will have immediate beneficial impact on some of the most vulnerable Vermonters. And the transition plan will help us all see the next steps we can take on the road to food security for everyone who is eligible for Three Squares Vermont. And I do want to say, this is on one of the slides, but we actually did some calculations about how many people in Vermont would be affected by the restaurant meals program, understanding that for people over age 65, they have the option, and many of them take it, to receive their EBT benefits as cash. But there are 13,000 people right now between age 60 and age 65, and the restaurant meals program starts at age 60. And the cash option availability only starts at age 65. And that number of people between 60 and 65 is only going to grow in our state. There are 42,000 people right now, and that's 13,000 people who are under 185% of the federal poverty level, so they're income eligible for Free Choice Vermont. And there are 42,000 people in our state who are income eligible for Free Choice Vermont who have a disability. And there are 3,300 people approximately in our state right now who are experiencing homelessness. That's, if you start adding those numbers up, that's a very significant number of people for whom the Restaurant Meals Program would make a very profound difference for different reasons. So thank you so much for your time and your commitment to making informed policy choices that create food security for all of us in Vermont. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Thanks, Nor, and thanks for the stats. That was gonna be my question, so I'll look at your slide, but the cash benefit that some people have right now is for over age 65, but it does not include people with disabilities who are younger than 65?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay,
So it makes.
so it's a bigger slice than I thought, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Laura. Do you have any data from other states that have initiated a similar program, such as like how, obviously, prior to this type of legislation, all the money is being spent in grocery stores. After the legislation, there must have been like a split between how they actually use the benefits, restaurant versus grocery store. More if there's any kind of data, kind of showing what happened.
Thank you for that question. You're talking about the Restaurant Meals Program piece of the bill. Yeah, so I do not know that. We are doing interviews. There are 9 states that have the Restaurant Meals Program, and each one of them has a very different version of it because the state has a lot of discretion for how they set it up. Some of the states are just barely getting started. This is fairly new everywhere. And so I don't have that information at my fingertips for you right now, but I'll make a note of it and I'll see what I can do about getting that information for you.
Quick question on that. So you indicated both in your slides and then your testimony that it's important to have the navigator in the budget this year. But it will take some time for the program to be put in place.
Yes.
So is it essential to have the navigator in place this year before the program is fit up, so to speak? And if so, what's the justification? Why are you saying that?
Yeah, well, I do think that it's critical to have someone in place who can really learn all of the ins and outs of the Restaurant Meals Program. What are all of the rules that USDA has established for the program? The application process for restaurants is the same as for grocery store retailers. So any retailer, whether you're a restaurant or you're a grocery store that wants to serve people with EBT cards, has to fill out this application. And it has to go straight to the Food and Nutrition Service at USDA. And it's not an easy process. And so, to have someone to really help restaurants navigate that program, and also to do the other thing that the bill directs is that the state consider some things in designing the program, that the state consider geographic spread and diversity. So we're actually reaching people who need the program everywhere in our state, which is really important. It asks about, it directs the state to consider a diversity of ethnic food providers, and also to think about how we might Vermontize this program by having local foods be a part of it and this kind of thing. So we would need somebody to actually kind of do the program design, to make sure that we're designing a Restaurant Meals Program that really works. And what we have heard in our interviews with other states that have implemented the program is that when the state did not provide a designated position at the state agency to really help restaurants make it through, those programs are foundering. Like it's not, in our view, it's really not an optional to try to implement this program without navigator.
That's all. Senator Bullock and then Senator Reed.
I just want to say thank you to all of you. That was really great testimony and I love that I'm very much in favor of this bill and I love that there will be downstream sort of discrete outcomes around, you know, hanging out and being with people that don't necessarily look like us and have the same socioeconomic background, combating loneliness we talked about last time. I just love all of that. I think it's so important right now for our society. But I did have the same question about, I'm not in a money committee, so I can't speak to that, but everything I hear is that right now, there's just no wiggle room around adding new positions and putting more stress on the burdened budget already. So I would like to ask Senator Lyons this question, but maybe a little bit more pointedly, which is, can we pass this bill without that one provision? And it sounds like you're saying we can, but it's gonna flounder if we try to go forward with that, without that position.
I think that having, making sure that our small food businesses that would really be the best ones to serve their communities through this program have the support that they need is very.
Does it have to be one FTE or could it be percentage? Half? Or if it comes to
I
that?
think that we would get a tremendous return on investment if we had someone who was helping restaurants and all SNAP retailers in Vermont navigate the system. I think that we would have people better served, and I think that we would leverage more federal dollars, and I think that it would be a much more effective program.
This was gonna be a conundrum, to say the least, because then it goes down the hall and I do what?
Down the hall, and you're capable
Have
of
a sense, Senator, yourself.
Nice job.
I know, well, I'll carry it down there, but you know, who picks the baby up, I don't know. Senator
Yeah,
Reed,
just a quick question. So I understand the challenges of setting up a program like this, transition to a program like this. But are there national chains that are already, you know, qualified in other states that, you know, participate in this program? I mean, is there any synergy there that can be leveraged? And if so, you know, I'd be curious who those chains are.
Yeah.
In a subsequent.
So in other states, there are restaurant chains that are operating restaurant meals programs, Subway in particular. However, and so they may have some corporate knowledge to bring, but every state has to set up its own restaurant meals program. It's not like if the chain is certified in some other state, their restaurants can just go in Vermont. That is not the
At
way
least they have
that the federal
experience.
rules are. Yes, correct. But they would still have to go through, the restaurants here would still have to go through that process. In Vermont or through our state agency.
George, one quick comment.
Very briefly, in terms of this navigator question, it strikes me that in the absence of a navigator, that the corporate chains would have an enormous advantage to be able to access this program to the disadvantage of sort of small mom and pop Vermont-based owned restaurants.
It's true.
I think that's a critical point, and that's really, you know, I think the vision of this, like how this will make a difference with social isolation, with building community, with like actually having everybody, yes, is if our local cafes, our local diners, our local general store deli counters, like, you know, that's my view.
Thank you. Well, we're gonna call it a wrap. This has been a good discussion and thank you for being here and bringing this information. So we just have, we'll take another step forward with maybe the administration and see where we get to, and then we'll make policy decisions around the table.
Thank you so much, and I'll do my best to get back to you with